There's a strange silence in a world that never truly stops. Even the streets hum with noise, but sometimes the silence finds you. I was walking home from school. Textbooks in my bag, thoughts elsewhere. Ordinary, predictable, until something caught my attention. A notebook. Lying on the ground as if it had been waiting for me, I picked it up. Black cover. Plain letters, death note. I turned it over in my hands. There was a warning inside. The human whose name is written in this note shall die. I laughed. It must be a joke, a prank notebook. But the rules, they were detailed, specific, precise. It explained everything. The name, the face, the time of death. The consequences for misuse. A chill ran down my spine. Something about it felt impossible. But real. I wanted to test it. Curiosity gnawed at me. There was a news report on the TV in my house. A criminal caught on camera for theft. Name, face, address. I wrote his name in the notebook. Not thinking too much, just testing. And then the TV changed. The criminal collapsed, dead. I froze. This wasn't a joke. This was real. I felt power coursing through my hands. A power that could change the world. A power that could cleanse it. I walked to my room, closed the door. Sat on my bed, notebook in my lap. I thought about criminals. Corrupt people, those who slipped through the cracks of justice. The world was flawed, broken, full of lies and pain. And I had a tool to fix it. I could erase the worst of humanity. One name at a time. But could I? Was I allowed? My reflection in the mirror stared back at me. Light Yogami. The perfect student, the ideal son. The obedient citizen. But now, something was different. I made a plan. First, small experiments. Test the rules. Understand the limits? I started with people who were unknown, faceless on the news. Quick deaths. Precise. Controlled. No one would suspect. No one would question. Yet the more I did it, the more thrilling it became. It was intoxicating. A knock at the door, my father. He reminded me of homework. A normal boy's life. A mundane life. But inside, I was plotting, analyzing, seeing the world in ways I never had before. I read through the notebook again. The rules were clear. The consequences severe, but I could handle it. I decided on my first true test. Someone corrupt. Someone who had ruined lives without remorse. The moment I wrote their name, I felt powerful. A god among humans. But a shadow loomed. The notebook didn't come with guarantees beyond death. Who would stop me if I got careless? If someone discovered me, I decided to hide the notebook. Keep it secret, always with me. The thrill of knowing that with a single thought a life could end was unmatched. I walked to school the next day. The same streets, the same people. But everything looked different. I noticed faces, movements, patterns. The world became a chessboard. Every action, every reaction, I could control it. I could change it, and yet, a part of me hesitated. Was I righteous? Or just selfish? Was this justice or something darker? The moral line blurred, thin as paper, yet I crossed it willingly. I saw criminals on TV. Their names whispered in my mind. Fate in my hands. The death note pulsed quietly in my bag, waiting for me, encouraging me, and then the first police reports. Unexplained deaths, sudden heart failures. The world noticed. But no one knew the cause. No one could imagine the truth. I smiled quietly. This was just the beginning. Every day I grew bolder. Every death, a lesson in precision. Every name, a step closer to perfection. I began keeping records. Notes on people, dates, circumstances. Patterns emerged. Possibilities multiplied. I started seeing the future, or rather possibilities. A path through corruption, crime, lies, and I could walk it. The notebook didn't command me. It suggested. It offered, and I accepted. I was light Yagami, ordinary on the surface, extraordinary beneath. The first part of the game was done. The notebook was mine, the world mine to judge. But somewhere, in the shadows, someone was watching. Someone who knew. I didn't know it yet. But the game had only begun. The days after the first deaths were surreal. The world didn't notice, but I did. Every news report felt like a challenge. Every headline a puzzle. Every criminal who escaped justice a target. I began planning my next steps. How to wield the death note efficiently. I avoided drawing attention, kept my grades perfect, kept my family unaware. Even so, the thrill never faded. I started thinking bigger. Not just petty criminals, not just thieves or murderers. The corrupt, the politicians, the organized criminals. Those who poison the world with their greed. I wrote their names silently. Focused on their faces. Visualized the deaths. The notebook obeyed. It had to, but with power came fear. What if someone saw me? What if someone discovered the notebook? The thought made my pulse quicken. I had to be careful, perfect. Then the first investigator appeared. On TV, a young man, a genius detective named L. No one knew his face. No one knew his methods. But he already suspected a pattern in the deaths. I felt the first twinge of danger. L. Just the name chilled me. He seemed untouchable, invisible, aware of everything without being seen. I studied him, analyzed his behavior. Every move on TV, every word in the media, I began to feel hunted, and yet, I couldn't stop. The notebook called to me. I had already tasted its power. The world needed me. I began experimenting with subtleties. Death by accident. Death by heart attack. Small interventions to hide my hand. I recorded everything meticulously. Each death, each effect. L's investigation only made me sharper. Focused. Determined. The more he searched, the more clever I became. I realized that to stay ahead, I had to think like him. Like a shadow. Invisible, and then the first close call. A criminal I had targeted didn't die immediately. I panicked. The timing was off. The rules strict, but not always forgiving. I had to adapt. I learned quickly. Precision became my ally. And patience my weapon. The notebook had limits. I studied them. Memorized them. Exploited them. I wrote a name. No hesitation. Focused on the life I wanted to end. The result was flawless. Confidence grew. Arrogance followed. I began to see myself as a god. Justice incarnate. Yet nights were heavy. I couldn't sleep without thinking, was this right? Or had I crossed a line I could never return from? Sometimes I imagined confrontations. If someone tried to stop me, I'd be ready. Then came the first anonymous message. A note slipped under my door. No name, no handwriting I recognized. A single phrase, I am watching. My heart raced. I checked the room. Nothing unusual. Yet I felt it. Someone knew. Well, I didn't know it yet. But he was close. I doubled my precautions. Kept the notebook hidden at all times. Never wrote in public. Never let anyone see my hands tremble. And yet, I felt the first cracks in my resolve. Was I unstoppable? Or just reckless? The moral conflict intensified. Every death weighed on me. Not enough to stop, but enough to think. I began testing myself. Not with ordinary people, but with ideas, scenarios. Would I hesitate? Could I remain perfect? Each test ended with success and relief, and a small thrill. I began mapping the world in my mind, patterns of crime, patterns of corruption, a plan for a new world, but L was always there. In the shadows, in every deduction, in every question posed on TV. He didn't know me yet, but I knew him. The tension became addictive. Every step I took, every death I orchestrated, every media report I watched, it was a game. And I was the player and the god. One night, I sat alone in my room. The notebook open. The city lights below. I whispered names. Tested the rules again. Every heartbeat was mine to command. I imagined Al's thoughts. How he would hunt me. How he would analyze the chaos. It thrilled me. It scared me. I felt unstoppable. But I also felt mortal. Because someone was thinking, someone brilliant, someone who could challenge me. The notebook wasn't the only tool. My mind was. My planning, my patience. I began to write in ways that tested the system. Indirect influence, forcing circumstances, playing with fate itself. And L responded unknowingly. Each death examined. Each pattern observed. We were locked in a silent war. One that neither of us had yet fully realized. I wrote names with precision. Calculated timing, ensured no errors, and I began to enjoy it. The control, the power, the feeling that the world was mine to judge. Yet, the moral weight grew heavier. A quiet pressure in my chest, a whisper in my mind. Was I justice, or merely a murderer? Sometimes the line between the two blurred. I couldn't stop, I wouldn't stop. Elle would try to find me, he would test me, but I would be ready. Because I had the notebook, and I had the mind, and I had the will. I was Light Yagami, and I would reshape the world. The night fell. The city below glimmered. In the silence I smiled. I had begun the first phase of a new order. A world cleansed of the corrupt. And in the shadows I felt eyes. Watching. Analyzing. Waiting. The game had only just begun. The following morning, I woke early. The notebook was at my side. Its black cover gleamed in the faint sunlight. I ran my fingers over the pages. So many names written. So many lives altered, and yet the notebook demanded more. It whispered possibilities, opportunities. I had to be cautious. Elle was still out there, still searching. I reviewed my list. Criminals, corrupt officials, manipulators. All carefully chosen, all carefully timed. I imagined Elle's mind, how he would perceive the pattern. The challenge made my pulse quicken. Suddenly, a knock at the door. My heart jumped. I opened it slowly. No one was there. Just an envelope on the floor. Inside, a single card. I know you. My pulse raced. He was closer than I thought. Closer than anyone could imagine. I smirked. Elle had yet to meet me, but I already knew him. I began planning. How to stay ahead. How to control the game. The notebook was my ally, but my mind was sharper. I wrote a name, visualized the crime scene, watched it unfold in my mind. Perfect. And yet, I felt a chill. Someone else was in the shadows. Watching. Calculating. I could feel him. Elle. The first direct challenge came quickly. A puzzle in the news. A riddle aimed at me. I studied it carefully. Analyzed the language. Traced the subtle hints. He was good. Better than I expected. A worthy opponent. But I didn't hesitate. Not once. I began planning the next series of events. Deaths that would mislead. Deaths that would confuse. Deaths that would test Elle's patience. I wrote the names. Each one deliberate. Each one precise. The thrill surged through me. I felt alive. But a small voice whispered inside. A warning. A doubt. I ignored it. The game was mine to win. And I would win. Every move, every death, every message. It was all part of the strategy. Then came the first encounter. A phone call. Anonymous voice. Light Yagami, I know who you are. My blood ran cold. Who is this? I demanded. My voice steady, though my heart raced. No answer. Just silence. And then a click. I knew it. He was close. Closer than ever. I checked my surroundings. Every exit. Every window. Every potential listener. I was ready. The next days were a game of cat and mouse. Every death I caused. Every news report I monitored. Every deduction I imagined Elle making. I stayed ahead. But the tension grew. The more I planned, the more careful I had to be. One mistake could cost me everything. I watched my classmates. My family, everyone around me. No one could know. The pressure mounted. The notebook was a constant weight. I spent nights studying, planning, predicting Elle's moves. And then, a breakthrough. I noticed a pattern in Elle's investigation. A subtle flaw, a way to mislead him. I smiled. Victory felt close. I began setting traps. False trails, confusing clues. It was a mental chess game. Each move calculated, each reaction anticipated. The first trap worked perfectly. Elle seemed misled. The public rejoiced. I allowed myself a moment of satisfaction. But I knew Elle would adapt. He always did. I couldn't underestimate him. One night, alone in my room, I felt the notebook calling me. It wanted more names, more influence, more control. I hesitated, a rare moment of doubt. Was I becoming a monster? Or was this true justice? The line blurred. The notebook had no morality, I did, and yet, I wrote again, focused, relentless. The next death occurred exactly as I envisioned. Precision was everything, but then, an alert. Elle had narrowed his search. Closer than ever, I felt the pressure. A game that could end at any moment. I reviewed my strategies, anticipated every move, planned every counter. The tension was intoxicating. The thrill of outsmarting Elle was unmatched. One evening, a shadow appeared in my room. A single figure, silent. I froze. Could it be Elle? Or someone else? No, it was only a classmate, an innocent observer. But the fear lingered. The knowledge that one mistake could unravel everything. I returned to the notebook, studied the rules, memorized every detail. The game had changed. I was no longer just a student, I was a player, a god, a shadow in the world. I wrote names carefully, checked every detail, ensured my safety, and then, the final challenge. L broadcast a message, publicly, cleverly. A direct taunt. He knew me. He knew my mind. And he wanted to test me. I smiled. The challenge was thrilling. I wrote a single name, focused, visualized every step, ensured no mistakes. The result was flawless. L's expression on TV remained unreadable. But I could sense frustration, confusion, a step behind but not defeated. I leaned back, the notebook open, my plan in motion. I was Light Yagami. The world would be cleansed. Justice would prevail, and all would never truly catch me. The night fell. The city below glittered. In the silence I smiled. The first phase was complete, the game continued, and I was ready. Because I was the player and the god. The world was mine to judge, and nothing could stop me. The notebook closed, my heartbeat steady, my resolve unshaken. Light Yagami had begun his reign. The game had ended. For now, but the war of minds had only begun. And somewhere, far away, L was thinking, calculating, waiting. The challenge continued, the stakes eternal, and I was ready.